Hello, everyone, and thank you for the invitation to participate in this fantastic 3 episodes event. Today, we have the honor and privilege to have with us some highly distinguished and respected executives of the maritime market. I will start with the ladies. We have Ms. Eftychia Benaki, IT Manager of Minerva Marine. We also have Dr. Vazintari, IT Manager of Unisea Shipping. Mr. Ronald Spithout, President of Inmarsat Maritime. We had the pleasure to listen to his very interesting presentation a few minutes ago. Also, Mr. George Bonikos, IT consultant in the maritime industry. And Mr. Juan Manuel Puertas, IT manager of Compañía Naviera Horamar. So welcome everyone to this challenging panel. I have to say that the digital transformation wave is causing widespread change across businesses in all industries, with the creation of new business models, revenue streams, and innovative services. Leveraging the capabilities of modern technology is now a question of survival. The new business environment demands the shipping industry to shift from the traditional business model of selling capacity and carrying goods to one that offers value to customers. With the increasing need for global supply chains for seamless flow of goods and services, digital business is a key enabler for shipping companies of today. So this is how we come to our first question. How has technology provided shipping companies with new ways of doing business? And as a result, do you think shipping companies were adequately prepared to rapidly transform their business models and continue to operate during the COVID crisis? Who will start? How about Juan?
Hello, Katerina. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the invitation. I think all of my colleagues will agree when I say that even though the pandemic was completely unexpected, we must say that most of the shipping companies were already prepared. We all know that the shipping companies work on a global business. We work 24/7 around the globe. We were used to do remote assistance previously. We were always required to give rapid response, dealing with several and different technologies, and also helping with little or sometimes non-experienced IT users. And although I'm probably regretful for what I'm saying, I think traveling to attend meetings or to go on board will be reduced to a minimum, as we already proved that we can certainly resolve many situations from the distance. The new reality has come to stay. We've been working for more than a year in a situation like this with pretty good results. We've been working like this previously to the pandemic. And so in essence, answering to your question, yes, we've been very much prepared. Obviously, this challenge comes with new requirements every day, but I'm sure we are up to the task.
Very nice. Eftychia.
Yes, hello from me. Thank you for the invitation. I think that the pandemic has somehow shown us how we will work in the future. Technology has helped the industry despite all the traveling restrictions and the quarantine. For example, remote audits and remote training is performed via video conferencing. Also, remote troubleshooting is possible with tools that can provide instant sharing of videos and pictures and files. We also see some new evolving technologies like augmented reality and virtual reality solutions. On the other hand, we have to say that the technology has also played a vital role for the crew welfare, because crew was stayed on board for several months. And it was very helpful for them to be able to communicate with their beloved ones using various tools for video calls and social media. Even recreation was possible with as a solution. And it is also very important to note that all this technology enablement is also performed with the help of high speed and stable satellite communication.
Very good. George?
Well, I think the industry was prepared in terms of technology and working remotely, as my colleague said before. Some of the companies maybe were forced to use enhanced probably technology. They had to upgrade and they had to get up to speed to accommodate all the new users that they need to work remotely. And also they had to maybe upgrade their vessel plans in order to promote crew welfare because they had problems in the vessels. And the companies who were not that prepared, it probably brought them up to speed. And the tools were there, the technology was there. So they were forced to adapt a little bit earlier than it was to their plans. There were a lot of cybersecurity concerns, I guess, due to the enforcement of that. They probably had to educate people in the office at the management companies and also the crew about cybersecurity concerns, probably provide them some training. E-learning is there, and I guess many companies have utilized that to bring e-learning to the vessels and to the office. And there are two pillars in terms of educating the crew, right, and educating people at the office. The two different things on keeping things in place. Maybe when we discuss further, we will see where we are at this moment. But I think cybersecurity now is playing a big role in that. And we've seen companies, maritime companies also failing on that feature. So we'll see where we're going on that.
Good.
So,
interesting. Anna, do you want to add something, especially regarding the cyber security concerns? I know you are a specialist in this area.
First of all, I would like to mention that, as already mentioned by Juan, remote working has always been inherent in the nature of shipping industry. Therefore, the transition to the new conditions that COVID-19 introduced were somehow straightforward, leaving only minor details to be organized by the IT departments. It was like a business continuity plan was always there seamlessly to serve this specific need. As Eftychia has mentioned, there were a lot of decisions and challenges that have arisen, though, regarding the IT departments were drastically involved in decisions that had to be made, such as the implementation of virtual attendances or virtual conferences. In terms of security, though, as George has mentioned, all these technological achievements needed and still need to be cyber secured. And among all the aforementioned challenges, this challenge, cybersecurity challenge, is still ongoing due to the dynamic nature of cyberspace. Again, the IT departments were there to implement solutions that would ensure shipping company cybersecurity. To mention, among others, VPN connectivity or multi-factor authentication or campaigns and trainings in order to raise awareness regarding phishing emails and so on. Therefore, in general, I would mention that IT departments were well prepared for this transition?
Good. Last one, Ronald. I trust we all agree that we owe all this to a certain extent to you guys. Could you imagine such a situation like the COVID pandemic having taken place like a decade ago?
No, that would have been a total disaster, of course, if it would have happened 10, 15 years ago. Because I think by that time the shipping industry was 25 years behind the curve, and I think over the last years you saw a rapid move towards digitalization. And I agree with Juan and also with Anna that there was a level of preparedness amongst the operators with an ICT department. But what I also see is that there is a very long trail of smaller operators who are not that sophisticated yet. And for them, there were a lot of challenges that came with the pandemic. If I see it from our perspective, a lot of the less sophisticated ship operators were still working on digitalization with as an only goal some cost saving or more efficiency in their operations. And suddenly, when the pandemic hit, they saw that there were a lot of other challenges that they could now solve with smarter use of technology. And so you could say, yes, they were kind of prepared because there's a lot of remote operations already inherited in shipping. But I think nobody was prepared for what was coming. And the ones that were more sophisticated, like the ones that you have around the table over here, they had enough material and tools to deal with the situation. And I think that is what you're seeing. But in general, I think there's a lot of catch up that is still happening today, even after a year, with shipping companies still trying to make sense on how to most efficiently rolling out a platform that supports the need, especially as there are so many more remote companies. And you mentioned, Juan, class societies, for instance, or remote audits and things like that. Well, that is all still starting phase, I think, and they're just dealing with the very first year of that. So there's no maturity on that yet, and there's still a lot of development and cyber protection and uniformity that you have to get into. So the ones that were sophisticated were lucky that they had a lot of tools to deal with the pandemic. The ones that were less sophisticated, I think they suffered a lot and faced a lot of challenges. And they are running to catch up.
Yes, correct. Now that we have extensively talked about the revolution that COVID has brought to our work, we come to the next question. Although this may sound like an oxymoron, do you think that 2020 has been an overall a good year for the IT in maritime? George?
I think yes, because as we said before, a lot of companies were forced to adapt these technologies, so we're in the front of this war. So we had our chance to prove that the technologies were there, and we were the catalyst of bringing these technologies to the companies and helping the whole industry move on and catch up with other industries that may have been more progressive than ours. Of course, there was our chance to prove that our contingency plans, our business continuity plans, our top exercises, our antivirus, our security, securing our digital assets were not just theories, but now they were put into practice. We were conceived as people as the department who always wants to spend money in things that we are imagining, but now it was our chance to prove that these technologies have values. We said before that the companies were ready to adapt, and because we are used to work remotely. But there are thousands of technologies that would allow us to work remotely, right? There are people who use Demure or people who use advanced firewalling and VPNs and several technologies. Because once you have an operator working at home, it means he has the crew list at home and other information at home. So you create another bunch of problems that you didn't have them before. So overall, I think yes, it was a good year for IT. We had a lot of work. Okay, we know that a lot of our colleagues were working 24/7 in the beginning of pandemic, and also the internet connections in the beginning weren't that stable, if you remember. So, but overall, yes, it's better. I think. Anna maybe would like to. Yes, please.
Ronald, you want to add something? Because I saw you raised your
Yeah.
hand.
Yes, I do, because I recognize a lot of what George is saying here. It's not more than 2 years ago that I was still speaking to IT managers of operators who said it was a very good idea to limit their operations in 250 megabits per month. Right now, you know, we are selling these digital platforms, and on average, those vessels are consuming 8 gigabytes per day. And we are now speaking to the ICT managers who are at the heart of the operations and not a cost center anymore. And the discussions are now about, can your digital platform deliver what I need in functionality? And it is not anymore about what is a megabit cost, right? This is now, does it support features that I need for either remote XYZ or virtual XYZ? So has it been a good year for the IT manager? Yeah, I think so. In that sense, it made the rest of the business aware of what the ICT department is doing for your P&L, and that's a plus.
Sure. Anna, what do you think? Did we finally manage to get the credits that belong to our departments?
Yes, for sure, we have managed to get the credits. The new conditions of COVID-19 that affected most of 2020 have stressed out the vital role of the shipping companies' IT departments. As already mentioned in the previous question, the IT departments were asked to drastically get involved in providing technological and cybersecurity solutions. And the management of the shipping companies realized the need for further investments on digitalization and cybersecurity. Now more than ever, the business continuity plan had to be reconducted to also include the condition where the employees could not gather in a specific location but should continue working from home. Among others, as mentioned previously, all the security channels were there, the tools are there, and the IT departments had the chance to utilize them and have their companies keep on working and keep on supporting remotely the vessels and all the shipping industry.
Thank you. Now the million-dollar question. Do you think that employees' fear of being replaced by the machines is an important obstacle in the road to digital transformation? Juan?
I think there are so many examples where IT or OT are not replacing people's workforce, but they are helping on added value analysis tasks that were not being done before, and like sensor or IoT devices, log processing, or even using machine learning to find the patterns, or to find examples of how helpful they are for predictive maintenance rather than going on preventive or defective. And Also, we have very nice examples that are maybe considered science fiction, but they are not, like AR, augmented reality. We have proved some devices that are helmets that are connected to mechanics or technicians that are in real time collaborating with people on land, or even looking at the manuals hands free. And this is something that it's hard to believe that people will not accept the use of technology more and more, and rather than believing that it's a risk or affecting the availability of job posts, or in essence, I think technology will not eventually come to replace humans or people labor, but to help to be more efficient, to help them do more better in less time, and driving cost reductions, of course, that ultimately will make the shipping industry to grow.
Thank you. George, do you want to add something on this?
When the cloud services were introduced during the evolution, actually 10 years ago maybe, there were a lot of articles and a lot of publication in the IT industry that were saying that the admin jobs will vanish, and the IT jobs eventually won't be that popular as they used to be. And exactly the opposite happened. When the cloud services created, more skilled people needed to do the admin jobs. Of course, they needed a different training. They needed probably certifications. They needed different tasks and skill set. But eventually, we have a more mature model of delivering cloud services, and more people are working on that industry. And many admins are needed, probably not mostly from the corporations that are the final users, but probably from Microsoft, Google, that the companies that they provide these cloud services. So I believe it might shift the type of expertise are needed, but it definitely won't eliminate the jobs. And another example maybe we'll use is the telemetrics. It's not that we don't need superintendent engineers because we have live data coming from the engine of the ship. We need more skilled engineers, of course, that could use this kind of software, and they can read the metrics. Yes, but definitely maybe we'll need more, because you need people to monitor all this data. Now we're in the era that we have so much data, we can read it, we can do anything about it. So, yes.
Exactly.
Maybe you don't need the superintendent engineer to visit the vessel every other day, as we used 5 years ago, but you need someone to read the data and conclude from the data, which means maybe he needs some training to the specific engine, the specific turbochargers, or whatever technology is there.
Exactly.
So that's my view of it.
Eftychia, do you want to add something? Or Anna, anyone, before we advance to the next question?
To what George said, that yes, it is important to monitor all these data that are coming from the vessels, but still the humans are the ones that will take the decisions. We're not at this moment capable to leave everything on machines.
Of course. And most importantly, new jobs will emerge, which will require a more sophisticated skill set, both on board and at the office.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe there's a question for Mr. Spithout. Do you think there'll be a time in the future that machines will make these decisions instead of superintendent engineers?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer that digitalization and the use of modern technology and cloud-based technology and services is not leading to less people. It's leading to different people. And regardless where they are, they will still be in the industry. I think even that the number of people associated to shipping industry will grow as a result of this, because there will be types of jobs, different pockets within the industry which will require different skill sets that we don't even know today. And you see similarities on land, where, for instance, a famous example, of course, is the automation of mining in Australia, where they completely automized remote mines in West Australia, whereby the original thinking was that it would lead to less people, but eventually it led to different skills of people, but not less people at all. But it led to more output and more effective working. And I think the same will happen in shipping. So no, there will be people who will be doing these jobs, but they will be doing the job completely differently and based on a new skill set.
Thank you. So this is connected to the next question about the evolving role of IT in the digital age. Juan, do you want to start?
Yes, I think we all need to change the way we are thinking IT from being a support department rather than a business a strategic department. I think we need to start working on that. We need to move from repairing printers and computers to actually give a value added service, and that's the goal, at least for me, and I think we all agree on that we need to start thinking of IT as an associate to the company, to the shipping industry, and I strongly believe on that.
Yes. Okay. George, what do you think? In my opinion, this is something we need to earn. We need to earn this new role. It's not given for granted that we will shift from the role of repairing the printers and replacing the cartridges to the role of business partner, as Juan mentioned. So how do you think?
We definitely have to earn this role, and we definitely have to prove to the business that we are able to play that role. So in order for us to sit next to the CFO, we need to prove that we have the strategy and we have the ideas, and we have to get involved into more strategic decisions that will enable the business to grow and achieve their strategic alliances. We have to be the enablers of that, and of course sometimes we are understaffed and we don't have the time to do it, but as managers, most of us here are in the IT management, we should be able and we should care more of bringing the real value of IT and enhancing this kind of evolution that we want to bring. Someone before mentioned, I didn't write the name, but he said that we should be close, we should link actually the economic activities to the real strategic value of IT, and I think that's the key of it. We should always try to assess this kind of information. Where do we stand next to the business, and how to get there? And regarding the support function, the operational function of IT, it's there, it's going to be there, and we should try to have skilled people doing it. But we should separate the operational thing and the strategic value of it. That's my viewpoint. maybe Anna wants to add something.
We
Yes,
should never forget that while dealing with technology, this never-ending adaptation is well known to us in the IT departments. We always are there to adapt to new challenges and develop the appropriate skill set to properly adapt. So I believe that everyone who is involved in the IT departments already know that, and we will manage to also follow the new the new era, to adapt in the new era properly and accordingly.
Wait, no.
yes.
Juan, didn't hear you?
Say again, Juan?
We're always surfing the wave.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are surfing the wave. But I also
sure.
think that, but you know, value is created by the ones who are making the best decisions based on information, right? And I think we, as ICT people, are the ones who should provide the information. So we are not data providers, we are information providers if we do our job well. So from an Inmarsat perspective, where I come from, we thought it was the most important to implement a free of charge IoT platform, because the ICT managers, by selecting the right application providers, are the ones who are providing the information on the board table. And that is where their role comes in. And that is the future of IT, I guess. And it's not about the printer or whether the telephone is working. It is about making sure that you can support applications as an ICT department that is providing the right information. And that is what it is about. And therefore you find now the discussions on the board table with the ICT managers and the CIOs or whatever they call them today.
Okay.
I want to add something. To that. We talked before that we create crew welfare by giving certain incentives to the crew, right? So internet is one of them that the Inmarsat allow us to give them free internet. We were in the middle for quite some time trying to convince the business why they should give that, because the first reaction back then was, we're not going to give them internet, they won't work, they would play the whole day on the internet and who knows what happens. And I remember myself trying to convince the business that, listen, if you want to retain a young officer, you have to give them something. Okay.
Well, it is not only, George, it's not only about giving them something. We wrote the Open Innovation Challenge last year for startup software providers. And we selected the winner, and they are now trialing it out on the Shell vessel. But the issue is that there is a link between mental health and asset value, and mental health or errors. And to monitor mental health, you need to know how they use the technology today. So you need to give them internet to monitor how they are doing. So it is not giving them their social media. It is also for the ship operators to monitor the behavior, because if you monitor behavior on board, you can give yourself an impression of the mental well-being of the people. And eventually you can predict whether errors will be happening more likely or not. So it is completely selfish to give them internet, but it should be done, I think.
Correct.
Absolutely. I agree. Okay,
We
one
are
last
growing
comment
the
by we are running out of time. So one last comment from Eftychia, and I think we need to close it.
Yes,
I'd just like
for
to
sure.
thank you, Katerina.
Nowadays, sorry.
Sorry, it's okay.
For sure, nowadays technology has drastically changed the way we work. We see that all processes are performed electronically. I also agree with Ronald. It's very important that the management teams take decisions with data analytics nowadays. So I think that forward-thinking companies start to realize that IT is not a supporting function, or not just a supporting function, but is a vital business partner that is side by side with the business to drive strategic decisions.
Okay. So to conclude, I think that the result is that companies need to continue to innovate, to build capability, and to use data-driven solutions. Hope is not a strategy, we all know this. Protecting our people, intangible assets, and supply chains, while at the same time trying to increase revenue, requires planning and the right partnerships, now more than ever. Thank you very much for your attention and your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yes, Talem.